25 years of media excellence. Welcome to Newsnight. Tonight, World Health Organization declares coronavirus a pandemic.
We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Meanwhile, back home, President Akufo-Addo prepares to address the nation on its preparedness and status. That will be live on all our channels. We'll also hear the president of the Ghana Association of Barbers, who is urging members to take personal hygiene seriously to curb the deadly disease.
We issue a communique to the regional heads and the regional secretaries. Go call an emergency meeting, talk to the regional people, and our people should be careful. They should take the hygiene serious.
Transport Ministry resolves to clamp down on commercial vehicles that are not registered with any transport union as a move to enforce transport regulations to the latter.
Any personal commercial vehicle belong to a situation, it is going to be difficult for you to take. Because we do twice. So that we can hold you to the better hold you transport of personal responsibility.
Meanwhile, ranking member on Parliament's Roads and Transport Committee criticizes President Akufo-Addo for not showing leadership in the fight against road accidents as Imani Africa prepares to petition investigative bodies to probe what it describes as fraudulent tender process. We bring you detailed account of the entire tender that led to the award of the contract to Thales in business.
A new extractive report highlights serious discrepancies between taxes paid by mining firms and what the state realized.
I'm live at the Accra Stadium where the Manchester Derby is on tonight. Who rules the capital? Is it going to be Accra Heart of Oak or Accra Great Olympics? Join me in 54 details.
And later tonight we hear about the massive outpouring of love to an old woman whose dying wish is to sleep on a mattress.
Before I die, I want to also sleep on a mattress. Now, I don't even have a mattress.
We have all that and more coming up here in tonight's edition of Newsnight. Please join us with your thoughts and comments via WhatsApp is 0244 340 437. I am Emefa Apawu.
And my name is Mensah.
We settle for details on Newsnight, brought to you by Puma Cash from Puma Energy, cash-free convenience.
Well, the World Health Organization has tonight, literally in the last couple of hours, declared the coronavirus outbreak a global pandemic as 118,000 cases are recorded in 114 countries across the globe. 4,291 people have so far died. The announcement was made a short while ago by the head of the WHO, Tedros Adhanom, who has been expressing deep concern about the spread of the virus. Listen.
WHO has been assessing this outbreak around the clock, and we're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction. We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic. Pandemic is not a word to use lightly or carelessly. It's a word that, if misused, can cause unreasonable fear or unjustified acceptance that the fight is over, leading to unnecessary suffering and death. Describing the situation as a pandemic does not change WHO's assessment of the threat posed by the virus. It doesn't change what WHO is doing, and it doesn't change what countries should do. We have never been before seen a pandemic sparked by a coronavirus. this is the first pandemic caused by coronavirus. And we have never before seen a pandemic that can be controlled at the same time. WHO has been in full response mode since we were notified of the first cases, and we have called every day for countries to take urgent and aggressive action. We have rang the alarm bell loud and clear.
So that is the head of the WHO there a short while ago declaring the coronavirus outbreak a pandemic. And the pandemic is simply a disease that is spreading in multiple countries around the world at the same time, which is indeed what we have now. And we've seen it in many countries earlier. We're seeing in other countries as well this spreading quite rapidly, particularly in Europe, where Italy has become the epicenter for it. In Europe specifically, where there are more than 12,000 confirmed cases. Now, at least 3 government officials in Iran and the UK have been infected. The United States of America has recorded death numbers of around 32, while as the spread reduces in China, but has shot up in South Korea. Hence, here in Ghana, tonight at 8 p.m. as advertised, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is expected to address the nation on this matter. You don't always get the President addressing the nation on issues. You can count on your fingers how many times we've had a presidential address on these matters, and it only happens on issues of grave national importance and concern, and clearly this is one of those moments that has made it impossible for the president not to engage the nation. We've heard from the health minister at press conferences before, but now we are about to hear from the president also on this. I want to bring in Elton Brobe, my presidential correspondent, who is joining us on the telephone line right now, monitoring this particular issue at the presidency and an anticipated national address. Elton, what more do we know?
So, Evans, we are just an hour and 50 minutes away from that address. Now, what you are likely to hear at 8 will be the president reiterating some of the measures already in place. And that include the fact that the country should revisit the traditional handshaking. Also, a call on countries worst hit by the virus not to undertake travels to Ghana unless it's of an essential nature. And yesterday, we also heard about government directive to public officials not to travel out unless it's of urgent nature. Remember also that yesterday there was a meeting, Ghana Health Service meeting, which brought together all regional directors across the country to brainstorm on how best to deal with this matter. And among the takeaways was the fact that there should be a regional holding center established, fully finished, to ensure that in the event that we have an outbreak, we are able to deal with it. And also the stepping up of screening and surveillance at our port of entry, especially with our neighboring countries. Remember that according to media reports around the world, Africa has currently has over 100 cases, with Egypt leading. We have cases in Togo, Burkina Faso, as well as some of our neighbors. And so President Akufo-Addo is likely to touch on what is being done, especially at our inland borders, the measures being put in place to ensure that people who come in go through the protocol to ensure that we are at all times protected. And also the fact that government is ready to resource the Ghana Health Service and the emergency response unit to be on top of their game to ensure that we stay safe as far as this particular pandemic, as described by the WHO, is concerned. So at 8, these are some of the things that you are likely to hear, Evans.
Okay, so so that's 8 p.m. Is this live? Is it a live national broadcast, or we expect this to be something the president has already recorded and will play back?
Okay, the arrangement, this is likely to go live on all major platforms at 8, and that is the information we have. But as we sit here, we're waiting to have copies, and then we can relay to our listeners via radio, TV, and online.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elting, there. concerns about the preparedness to deal with the coronavirus at some of Ghana's land borders is being questioned now, as Togo, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and as has been reported already, Ivory Coast also may have just been recording its first case of a deadly disease that has claimed over 4,000 lives so far. Early this month, Health Minister Kweku Ajimamenu, at the tour of the airport and other designated holding centers with President Akufo-Addo, noted the country's land borders have been put on high alert to check entrance from neighboring countries.
The same measures that we have put in place in the Kotoka International Airport are the same things that we are replicating along all the land borders, especially the two major ones, Enugu and Apawu. But we haven't forgotten about the approved routes across length and breadth of our country, as far as Paga, the Gonokrom and Badukrom and the Sampa area, everywhere across the country, we are on high alert. And now we have got some of our directors who are moving around to actually check, just like the president went around, to make sure that they have taken our advice and instructions very seriously, and they are working on them.
Now, days after the health minister's announcement, this Ghanaian who came into Ghana from Togo, which has recorded a case of the virus, has been narrating his experience at the border with Daniel Dancy.
Well, if coronavirus is in Togo, then seriously, as Ghana, we are in a colossal screw-up. Because, honestly, Daniel, there was no form of check. On my way back, they took my passport, asked me where I went to, what I went to do, and that was the stamp. No form of medical check whatsoever. I think the only thing they were concerned about was whether or not you had the legal right to enter or not. So on our way to Togo, there was a bit of a kerfuffle. The guy who came for my stamp, for my passport, wanted some money before he stamped it to prove that I'm going to Togo. I told him I was not going to pay any money, and he left angrily. And so I had to go back to the border guys and tell them, hey, this is my passport, I'm going to Togo, will you stamp it? So I could have easily entered Togo without my passport being stamped. And I went with a friend whose passport wasn't stamped, and so it was a few minutes after we had entered Togo that he actually had to come all the way back to the border and have his passport stamped.
Which means that it's possible you would not have had a record that you had crossed the border and people know how you got there.
Yes, I think it's very possible, and I won't be surprised if there are a lot of people who don't have any records of going in and out of the Togo border.
Do you think we are safe from coronavirus?
No, I don't know. I don't think we are safe at all. I promise you, I didn't know anything about coronavirus, even being remotely close to Ghana, till I got to Ghana way later in the evening, and someone sent me a news article that there was an outbreak or there was a possible case in Togo. The same day I was in Togo and out. So no, I don't think as a country we are safe at all, honestly.
So that is a case of testing the system at the ports, and as I just indicated just before, you had this case of what is happening at the land entry points. Today, Ivory Coast has also confirmed this first case of coronavirus. That means that around us, all the countries around us, our immediate neighbors, Ivory Coast, Togo, and Burkina Faso, with the exception of our neighbor to the south, the Atlantic Ocean, all of them have confirmed cases of coronavirus. A 45-year-old Ivorian man who had recently traveled to Italy was the one who was confirmed to have the coronavirus and was confirmed by health ministry officials today, according to a report by Reuters. Now, Ivory Coast is Francophones, as you know by now, Africa's largest economy, is the 8th country in sub-Saharan Africa to report a confirmed case. Let me go to the list for you as far as Africa is concerned. Nigeria, Senegal, Cameroon. And that is the scary bit. Majority of these countries are in West Africa, right? Nigeria, Senegal, Cameroon, Togo, Burkina Faso, and then, of course, you talk about South Africa and the DRC. Now, South Africa announced 6 new cases of the virus on Wednesday, bringing its total to 13, the most in Sub-Saharan Africa. North African countries have also recorded nearly 100 cases in all. Now, we're learning more about this patient in Ivory Coast. We understand he is in a stable condition. in a hospital, in a commercial capital, Abidjan. In sub-Saharan Africa, we've been slightly lucky because we didn't record a case until February 28th. And now we're beginning to see it in a lot more African countries. And the Director of Public Health of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Bidusa Akode, says they are looking into the claims of lapses at the Apawu border area, which is one of the high traffic entry points, especially now that all our immediate neighbors have confirmed cases.
We will follow up and investigate and get back to you later as to what exactly the situation is. Because indeed, we have established good mechanisms to ensure all the designated points of entry, including Apawu, are being manned well. But then being a major point of entry, there's a need for intensive surveillance to go on at that area. That is what we knew. That is what we understand is going. So having mentioned this, we follow up and then strengthen our supervision on the way they are doing things. I will quickly get the head of hotel to contact the officer in charge at Apawu and see why was that lapse, if there is any truth in that word.
He also has been speaking about outcomes of a day-long meeting between health officials and the 16 directors of health on the way forward in dealing with the disease if it gets into the country.
The idea is to assess and get first-hand information, what they have been reporting of the preparedness of the various regions. And we had already gone to some of the regions, the Director General and myself, we've been to some of the regions to assess what they are doing. Clearly, they are doing quite a lot of things, not very different from what we are doing at national level. Whatever mechanism you put up here should just run down through the region, and the regional directors also have the responsibility to ensure the districts and the health facilities and even the community activities are adequately done. And those are the things that we deliberated on and discussed. And based on the information we received, we are quite happy about the progress so far.
And the financial commitment to this has been forthcoming?
Indeed, we have a master plan. And this master plan has been put to, we've added cost to it. And we have some amount that we anticipate to get the things. And most importantly, this has been broken into short-term, mid-term, and long-term. At any time, what I require as the lead in the operational activities is that when we need specific things, you rarely mention PPEs. How do you get a PPE, which has already been costed in the plan? So we go to the DG, the minister, he provides the PPEs. When we require place for holding, place for treatment, the logistics for case management, logistics for laboratory confirmation, these things are provided. So for now, I think we are doing well as a country, and what we have no reason to be worried about our preparedness.
Now, the president of the Ghana Association of Barbers and Barbering Salon Owners, Ibrahim Musa, says the association has directed its members to take personal hygiene seriously as the deadly coronavirus continues to spread fast. In fact, it's now a pandemic.
This coronavirus started, we issue a communique through our General Secretary to the regional heads and the regional secretaries to go call an emergency meeting to talk to the regional people so that they can take it down to the zoners. Then our people should be careful. They should take the hygiene serious because we don't know the time the virus will come to you. But let's make sure that we prevent it. No, we don't have any education on that, but we are doing the small education that we have on that so that we can manage ourselves so that we won't infect any Ghanaian citizen with a virus. Even we ourselves, we need to protect ourselves.
So you have that's the president of the Ghana Association of Barbers and Barbering Salon Owners.
Now, a few details you need to know about what a pandemic is and what it means in reality. Question is, will that affect the way the world reacts to this particular virus? Now, if you go to the WHO website and the guidelines on the pandemic, it says if declaring a pandemic triggers global panic, this can defeat the purpose of trying to raise awareness. In fact, it's part of the reason why WHO has hesitated for this long. Much has been written about whether the declaration of going back to H1N1, colloquially known as swine flu, as a pandemic in 2009 caused unnecessary panic. But what it means is that more resources then get allocated to it because of the seriousness of it and the fact that it's now spreading across the globe. And one of the key things that the WHO is also saying tonight is that when it comes to how does the WHO decide whether to call it a pandemic, they say cases that involve travelers who have been infected in a foreign country and have then returned to their home country, or who have been infected by that traveler, known as the index case, do not count towards declaring a pandemic. There needs to be a second wave of infection from person to person throughout the community. And so they expect that then, once a pandemic is declared, it becomes more likely that community spread will eventually happen, and governments and health systems need to ensure they are prepared for that. And I guess it's in keeping with this that we're going to hear from the president tonight at 8.
Well, let's talk about another issue that's of grave concern to us. That's the accidents on our roads. And now we know that a number of lives have been claimed as a result of these accidents on our roads. The Transport Ministry today puts it at 400 since December 2019. They also say that it will make it difficult for commercial vehicles that are not registered with any transport union in the country to operate. There have been concerns that lack of enforcement of road traffic regulations is partly to blame for the spate of accidents on our road. At a meeting with members of the GPRTU and other transport heads in Accra today, the Transport Minister Kweku Foriesiama assured the ministry, together with the Road Safety Authority and the police, will enforce the law to the latter.
Any personal commercial vehicle belong to association, it is going to be difficult for you to take because we be twice so that we can hold transport operators responsible. And the new regulation about National Road Safety Authority, they are supposed to regulate all commercial vehicles. Commercial operators, you will not come directly under the National Road Safety Authority. More power than what they used to have. Road inspectors, we are in discussion with the civil service, the head of civil service, and the Minister of Finance. My embracer, young Poli Pano, by if you say so, no more, you know, a real Koshiamo. Near employee department more because you present from now to ending of maybe April. You begin the Pabewaha, Abekamo, road inspectors.
Now, the meeting follows the Kintampo accidents earlier this week, which claimed 31 lives. The Kintampo Tamale Road specifically has been tagged as one of Ghana's most dangerous roads, as thousands of lives have been lost on that stretch alone. Just in case you may have forgotten, listen to this report that reminds us all of the gory accidents that have occurred on that stretch.
She lost her husband and her only child in a gory accident that claimed over 70 lives on the Kintampo Tamale Road on the 22nd of March 2019.
Okay, Mrs. Kanon, Nikunu neba wedi 3 years, and then Nikunu amu to 2 years.
But that was not the only accident that shook the nation. On February 17, 2016, 53 people died when a Metro Mass bus and a truck rammed into each other along the same stretch. More than 30 people sustained various degrees of injury. Then on April 16, 2018, 4 people were reported dead in another accident there. In September 2019, another horrific accident occurred. This time, 8 people were killed, many more injured. In the year 2018, the National Road Safety Commission, now an authority, labeled the Kintampo Tamale stretch one of the 13 most dangerous highways in Ghana. The report revealed that between 2004 and 2011, that stretch alone had recorded 939 road crashes with 2,523 casualties. The Kintampo Tamale Highway has been described by many as a death trap, and it's evident when you drive along the stretch, lined with mangled vehicles.
Holy Ghost fire!
Some passengers praying to God before a bus sets off. But it appears most of these accidents are not what they are thought to be. They are actually acts of men.
Now, exactly a year ago after, over 70 people died from a road crash on that stretch again, President Akufo-Addo gave out a charge to the agencies involved. Now, since that announcement of that action plan, also there was an action plan put together for the year 2018. Not much has been done, but we'll quickly hear from the President and I'll give you an update on that.
Last year, I set up an interministerial committee composed of the Minister for the Interior, the Minister for Roads and Highways, and the Minister for Transport to examine and propose measures to deal with the increased state of road accidents in the country. The committee has concluded its work and has made recommendations for the consideration of the Police Council, as the police is the institution charged with the regulation of traffic on our roads. It is my hope that the recommendations will be speedily acted upon and outlawed as soon as possible. As we can all see, the issue is urgent.
Now, since that announcement by the President, not much has been done. Today, at the meeting with the transport unions, Transport Minister Kweku Furesiama said the 2020 budget has made provision for the dualization of our major highways.
Minister for Roads and Highways for budget. Double to begin the construction of dual carriage now. And that's something you can. And yet I go now. In the meantime, I'm going to able to my accident to Emma and no. That's your doing which is here. After the police, the problem no more cars that they are. Increase national road safety on budget. Your mom bear better times. That's how we hear from January to now. Advert national road safety here. And that's the year the money. And start to point in the more.
Well, so that's the minister there confirming that indeed the ministry has a budget to make sure that all major roads are dualized. Now, meanwhile in Parliament, the issue came up. Ranking member on Parliament's Roads and Transport Committee, Kwame Agbuja, is criticizing President Akufo-Addo for not showing leadership in the fight against road accidents. He says the president has not spoken out enough on the recent spate of accidents. Mr. Agbuja is also questioning what has become of the work of a committee the president announced in 2018 to deal with road carnages.
But hardly do I see the conversation addressing it this way from government. In fact, I hardly even hear the president himself. The last one which happened with Cape Coast happened a few days before the New Year's call. I was surprised it didn't even feature in the president's presentation at that point. As it happened this one, the Kintampo one, I'm yet to know whether the president made a statement. Why am I saying this? It's about leadership. It's about the president leading us to feel that this is what I feel we all need to do as a people together to address the point.
He tweeted expressing condolence.
Well, since when has the president become like Donald Trump, where conducting the affairs of government on Twitter? How many Ghanaians are on Twitter? I mean, it's a good idea. Maybe I can read. Maybe you can read. But the bulk of the people can't. So the president cannot reduce this to. I mean, what Trump is doing is even a problem for the United States in terms of running the country on Twitter. So we can't actually try to adopt that. That's not one of the things we should copy. The president should be able to speak out and tell us his roadmap. The last time it happened, he said he's put up a committee of some people to come out with some recommendations. Where are we in terms of implementing the recommendation? And where are the milestones in terms of when we do this? Is going to reduce the state of accident by this percentage over this period. Nothing like that. No milestones, no targets or anything. So that is where we are in terms of.
So that's the ranking member on Parliament's Roads and Transport Committee, Mr. Agbuja. Well, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament also spoke about it today, Joseph Wusu, and he's been commending the State Transport Company, STC, for their good practices, which ensures that their vehicles do not get involved in an accident. You're still listening to News Night here on Joy 99.7 FM. It's now time for business. When we return, we'll hear about the massive outpouring of love to an old woman whose dying wish is to sleep on a mattress.
Before I die, I want to also sleep on a mattress. Now, I don't even have a mattress.
Let's do business now. George Yafe has the very latest. George?
Watching that report, it tells you how we take a lot of things for granted as human beings and what actually can change someone's life and what...
How many mattresses do you have?
Well, I mean, for 25 years of my life, never slept on a mattress. So I sort of understand. There's something called achacha. It's not it's made of it's made of the husk tree. It's not the rubber mat. Okay, it's a different one. It's very hard. You know, you jump, and then there's the mat. You know, the rubber one, the one that you fold. You know what I mean? That's what I used to sleep on for a long time until I rented my own place, and then went to Melcom one night.
Sleep on a water bed, right?
They went to nah. I remember the first mattress I bought. I put it on the taxi, drove home, and it didn't fit in the bed. So I mean,
and the calls have been coming in left.
Yeah, but it's a very touching story, and she's very old, and that's a death wish. Is it?
Yeah,
she wants to sleep on the mattress before she dies.
Jojo Kopna will join us later for a chat.
Powerful story. It tells the story of humanity.
Well, coming up in business, new extractive report highlights some discrepancies between taxes paid by mining firms and what the state actually realized. And Ghana up by 3 places to 6 in the latest Rand Merchant Bank Best Place to Do Business in Africa. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you? And it has been 25 years of joy and actually providing those business community out there with up-to-the-minute market numbers and information.
It's your day off and you end up looking after the baby while your wife goes off to work. You realize you have no idea how to change a diaper. So you call your wife.
Hello, darling.
Yeah, hello. Hello.
Kojo, is everything all right?
Everything is not all right. I'm not seeing top. How do I change a baby's diaper, please?
Kojo. Okay, first, put the diaper.
The video call freezes. While you wait for the internet to catch up, the baby sprouts a fountain and wets the diaper. As you are getting a new one, your wife comes back online.
Kojo, no. Why did you leave Abeku alone on the bed?
But I had to go and get a new diaper. What must I do next? I beg, quick.
Open the front of the diaper. It's the side that has...
Wow, look. The video freezes again. Abba. By now, you know where the conversation is going. There's no buffering in real life, so why accept it from your internet connection? Get connected and experience ultra-fast internet to your home, powered by MTN Fiber Broadband. We're there for you, everywhere you go.
Mr. Barr has big dreams for his business, Barr & Co. Limited, and his family, making them a reality man to long drives and queues. He's lost precious time struggling to pay his suppliers in China, Turkey, India, and other parts of the world. With the First National Bank global payment via our online banking enterprise, he now pays for all that in the convenience of his home or office, giving him time to focus on family and growing his business. Use our online banking enterprise to access Forex when you need it. It takes a bank that does more to help your family. So who's helping yours? First National Bank. How can we help you?
We know it's important to create a productive and supportive working environment by investing in your employees' health. With a leading international track record, Apex Health Insurance is regulated and licensed by the National Health Insurance Authority to provide medical insurance services to institutional clients, families, and individuals. Apex Student Package and International Medical Solutions are all here to cushion you. Visit Apex Health Insurance Office at Zion House, Boundary Road, Shiashi, or call
0501-683-914
or 0232-000-015. In Kumasi, we are located opposite Prempeh College, Sofo Line, and in Takrady, Apex Health, your preferred health insurer.
It's another election year, and your leader in election coverage in Ghana, joining its election headquarters, launches the big programming for election 2020 with you, our cherished audience, at the forecourt of the AMA building near the Octagon and opposite the Accra City Hotel. Date, Thursday, March 12, 2020. Time, 6 to 10 a.m. Live on TV, radio, online, and on the ground. Remember to join the Joy 99.7 FM Super Morning Show and the Joy News AM Show team to share your thoughts and expectations on this year's election. Joy News, your election headquarters.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Welcome back to Business on News. Now, the country was up by 3 places to 7 in the latest Rand Merchant Bank Best Place to Do Business in Africa. The growth was fueled by improved regulations in the oil sector as well as pro-business reforms and the steady improvement in power supply. The report reviewed more than 20 economies in Africa during the year, and the review it however raised concerns about the country's rise in debt stock. Meanwhile, Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, had earlier told journalists that these reports actually shows that election fever or election-related concerns have not affected capital attraction and also position the country as the best place to invest in Africa.
Although, one of the big selling points of Ghana is its political stability, and therefore, if there's an election year, you'd have a lot of investors actually waiting to see what happens before they go on. It's not stopped them from looking at the market. And Ghana went to the international markets to raise a bond of 3 billion. It was 5 times oversubscribed, and we got the best rates we've ever had as a country. And for the first time in Africa's history, it was able to raise a 41-year bond, which is unprecedented. It's never happened in Africa before. So it tells you that with the right risk profile and with the right risk assessment, investors will take the decision and they'll tell you. Definitely shows the confidence that they have in the Ghanaian economy.
Yofi Grant is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. Now, the Ghana Extractive Industry Transparency Report on mining sector has again highlighted some discrepancies between what the taxes that they paid and what the state actually realized. Now, this was contained in the 2017-2018 Extractive Industry Report. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, Dr. Steve Manteo, has raised concerns over the contribution of the extractive sector to the economy. There's more in this report.
The relationship, I don't think there's a need.
For that wrong soundbite, we'll bring you to you later on. Let's look at other stories. And more commercial banks are waiving charges on the various electronic products and services offered to its clients and the public. Now, there's the conclusion that one may form after going through the latest Bank of Ghana report on bank charges for the country during the year under review. Now, out of 23 banks that were reviewed, 10 of them were actually not placing any levy on these products. The report also shows that 3 commercial banks didn't actually require an initial amount to open a savings account. Now, these banks include Zenith Bank as well, which actually didn't require any minimum deposit to also have an account. Now, going through the report, it was also clear that a lot more banks were actually offering services to their clients and the public without any charges. It's not clear for now what might be the factor or actually the main reason for this, or whether it is a strategy to attract more clients. We'll be looking at the other story, and we also bring you another story where we hear that actually we are committed to listen on the Ghana Stock Exchange as part of our broad localization policy. Now, that's the assurance coming from the new owners of ABSA Ghana, that is ABSA Group, which took over from Barclays UK as its major shareholder. Aaron Danimeleli is actually the new group chief executive of ABSA Group, and he has been responding to a question that Joe Business posed through a teleconference from South Africa.
We are well aware of the discussions that are taking place around localization and the wishes of the authorities and Ghanaian people in that regard. These are issues that will form part and parcel of how we look at our strategy going forward. And these are things that we are thinking about, but there are no definitive decisions that have been taken in that regard, and what exactly that form might take will be informed by our analysis and how we work on. But we're certainly aware and appreciate the need for localization, and we will need to think about it and see how best one implements that.
Aaron Danimeleli is the new group chief executive of ABSA, speaking from South Africa through a teleconference, responding to a question whether ABSA Ghana will soon list on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Let's return to our earlier story where there's actually the chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, Dr. Steve Manteo, has raised concerns over the contribution of the extractive sector to the economy.
Co-chair of Ghana's chapter of the AITI, Dr. Steve Manteo, stated that while disclosures on the management and use of extractive resources are vital in fostering and informed citizens' engagement on natural resource governance, Ghana's long-term objective of enhancing the development outcomes of the extractive sector will not be served if citizens do not capitalize on the reports to demand accountability and the needed policy and practice.
You do. To determine that when I mortgage my forests, the livelihoods of my people, for X amount of taxes and royalties, this is what I get. We don't do anything of the sort. For us, every money is money.
The report further cited that international oil companies such as Anadarko, Eco Atlantic, Vital Upstream, and AGM, though met the threshold for inclusion in the report, failed to submit their templates and therefore did not participate in the exercise.
And that was the business technical. Let's turn our attention to the stock market, and GCB was actually down by 2 pesos to close at 4 Ghana cedis, 80 pesos. But for MTN shareholders, the value of each share held was up by 2 pesos to close at 70 pesos. It appears that the recent sterling performance of MTN is impacting on the share price on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
And I come bearing good news. Your election headquarters will go live tomorrow with a massive people-centered launch of our coverage of the 2020 elections. Well, the weight of the entire multimedia group will be on display at this launch as we bid to once again lead the way with the most comprehensive and people-centered coverage of our elections. This year, guess what? The theme for our coverage is having an informed electorate. And George and Evans.
I mean, I'm looking forward to this. The thing about this, and as you've emphasized, and that tune in the background. Oh my goodness! It's been 4 years since, 3 years since I last heard it. You have to give me a volume on that. It sends shivers down my spine. Just like when you
do it for me, calling the results.
It is now statistically impossible, as you know, former President John Dramani. Oh my!
Do it again.
That was the one. But yes, I mean, tomorrow's launch. And George, you know this. It's about the people. Many have said that this year's elections will be about the economy, right? And that's an area that you play. The EIU report, I've mentioned the economy, the business community, the banking sector collapse and how it's affecting people, etc.
There's a report from the Rand Merchant Bank is talking about the best place to invest in Africa, and Ghana has been up by 3 places. There's always this thing about the numbers being good and how that impacts people. So it's about, the economy might be growing, the numbers are good, but is it impacting on the livelihood of people? That has always been. And some would say that inflation is coming down, but inflation,
you really hit the nail on the head, and that is why we chose this particular venue, the Central Business District, to launch the election headquarters.
You find the Kayayi and all those people.
You know, everybody. That's everybody. You can find a business people.
High Street,
exactly. You can find
Ghana.
You can find the Low Street
Bank.
The Low Street. There's Mokola. And we're coming from the forecourt of the AMA, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. If you know where that's just behind Octagon, Kimbu. So we are sandwiched between Tema Station on the left, and then Mokola, on the right. And then Kantamanto is somewhere there.
And you don't forget those we call them the Pim store. The roving,
all of
the
them,
markets where you get everything.
And we're going to have seats for you. So whoever you are, once you believe in what is going to happen this year, the elections, I want you to show up and participate, because we want to make it a very interactive launch. We don't want it to be about the politicians, but the politicians will be there. We say they are passing through. They are passing through because they'll come, spend like 10 minutes, answer your questions. You can engage them. NDC will come, MPP will come, CPP, whatever, and they move on. But it's going to be about the people. Emefa has said it. We want, at the end, everything we do this year should lead to an informed election.
It'll be good to hear from these people, because it's always been about the fact that the numbers are good, numbers are doing well, but has it really impact on people, you know, and a bit about the savings, how does it trickle down to people? If cost of credit has improved, how is it impacting the Kayayi, the market women out there? Inflation is not growing or is not going up that much. How does it impact them? Even on the purchasing power of consumers as well?
Really, we shouldn't kid ourselves. This year is about the people, right?
And about the economy.
about the economy, but how that affects and that is why there is going to be a part of the launch that is going to come exclusively from Kantamanto, right? Exclusively from Kantamanto, and then there's going to be another. The main is the Central Business District itself, where the AMA is, and then we are going to start at 6:45. Okay, 6:45. Very early. No, sorry, 5:45. Yeah, 5:45. We're going to go, and then we're going to come to you live. And on all our platforms. Yeah. In fact, what is going to happen is Adom FM is also doing a separate launch, right, from Lekma. Same concept.
Back to Lekma.
Yes, back to Lekma.
Lekma Hospital.
At 8:30, we will all converge at Kantamanto. Okay. Joy Adom will converge at Kantamanto and bring you so you hear Chi on Joy. And then Adom will hear English on Adom. But we are going to have two presenters representing both sides, and you're going to be interpreting what people are saying. We want this to be a people-centered one, and that's what we are doing. Yes.
We'll be looking forward to that entry.
At 5:45. Can't we do it again? And
Emefa will be there.
Emefa is starting the young.
So he'll be here around 4 a.m.
The first face you see on TV
would be Emefa
5:45, and the voice you
I'll see her here at dawn, right?
Yes, at dawn. For the first time.
That'll be lovely.
Yeah, you'll hear. So that's it. I mean, so get there at 6 o'clock, and let's make this happen.
The election headquarters.
The final declaration again, and
Emefa is going to be the next president of the Republic. Now, let's still with the elections. And by the way, tomorrow the Electoral Commission will be represented at this event also. And tonight, following news conference yesterday by policy think tank Imani Africa, says it is preparing to petition investigative bodies to probe what it describes as the rigging of the tender process for the Electoral Commission when it comes to the compilation of voters' register. Imani has also questioned the EC's decision to award a contract to a company it alleges has a reputation for bribery, procurement breaches, and failing to meet contract requirements in various countries. A France-based company, Thales Gemalto, according to Imani, has been contracted by EC to supply Ghana's biometric election management system. Here is Vice President of Imani Africa, Bright Simmons.
There may be political forces way beyond us, way more powerful than us, that will ensure that the EC does whatever it wants. But we will not discharge our mandate until every Ghanaian understands that the reason why this procurement is being undertaken is not because of the national interest, but fundamentally because somebody has an interest either to make money or to waste money. We are going to petition some institutions that have the statutory mandate, the legal authority to look into it.
And we've done a bit of a digging about the tender process. And Emefa, you've been working your sources close to the tender committee. A member has been gracious enough to tell you what happened. What do we know? Okay,
so I know that 5 companies expressed interest in the contracts, but 4 actually presented their bid. That's according to a member of the entity tender committee. So we have Smartmantics, we have Ibdemia, but they did not present a bid. We have Thales, and then we have a Korean company we're told is Miro, which we're still checking. Then we know that there's an evaluation panel. We know there's a central tender board. We have an entity tender committee, and then we have an evaluation panel. So the evaluation, I'll start with the entity tender committee, is made up of the chairperson, Madam Jean Mensah herself. We have 2 other commissioners. We have 1 rep from the Attorney General's department. Then we have a rep from the majority side in Parliament and a rep from the minority side as well. That makes up the entity tender committee. Then the evaluation panel. The evaluation panel is made up of 1 commissioner, which chairs the evaluation panel, and they will present the report to the entity tender committee. Then they can approve that. So if the first evaluation panel was put together and they received the bids from these companies that I mentioned earlier, the first panel had Smartmantics winning the bid to provide these services to the Electoral Commission. It was then presented, and the Central Tender Board, which is the EC itself, the entity itself, rejected it on basis that Smartmantics had an issue in Philippines where they were involved in bribery of Filipino officials, and they had election-related issues also that came up, on which reason that first evaluation report was rejected. So that bid was cancelled. Then a second evaluation panel was put together, this time with a different commissioner as the head of that evaluation panel, of course. And then they presented Thales as the winner of that bid. Well, a member of the committee raised issues about why Thales had now been giving that, because they've also had issues in South Africa, an issue that is still in court that we're speaking about, which involves bribery of the former South African president, Jacob Zuma. And also, they've been blacklisted by the World Bank. And if we subscribe to the World Bank and they blacklisted a company, it's not just in South Africa that they had issues. There are issues in other countries as well, for which reason they were blacklisted by the World Bank. So this issue came up. But this is also the same reason why Smartmatics was denied it. Like it was, their bid was rejected because of the bribery issues in the Philippines. But this issue also came up with Thales, but that was not cancelled. But Thales in the end won the bid, which is according to the member of the committee that we had spoken to. So that was accepted by the entity tender committee. But this issue also came up that one member of the second evaluation panel was also a member of the first evaluation panel, for which reason they thought that he could have influenced the process for the second evaluation panel. But that was also rejected. But these issues were raised. That's according to the information that we are getting from the tender process. So these are the companies. I forgot to also mention Backpress. They also entered a bid. That's together with the 5 companies, except Ibdemia, that did not present a bid. But thankfully, we've been joined also on the phone by a member of the tender committee. That's the the tender entity committee for the Electoral Commission. Is Mr. Dr. Okoboy. We are grateful for your time here on Nite. So this is the information that we picked up according to what happened with your entity tender committee. Is that your understanding of what actually happened?
Yes, thank you very much. So first of all, I do not speak for the commission. I just happen to be a member of the entity tender, so I just want to assist in clarifying some issues and setting some of the things record straight. So we had a first process that led to the production of a report. Now, the entity tender committee, according to the Public Procurement Act, can get referrals from the chairperson so that we look at them, especially when the contract sum is above her threshold. She has a threshold of about 100,000 Ghana cedis. Anything above 100,000 in terms of services or purchases must come to the entity tender. Good. So the evaluation panel looked at these companies and they produced a report. The entity tender committee is not a conveyor belt that just forwards every report we get to a central tender review, assuming it's also above our threshold. We have to look at the report, query the report, and be satisfied. So when we looked at the first report, we realized that the scoring, in fact, it is the commission that even identified some discrepancies in the first report and requested that the members of the panel give us some explanation as to why there were discrepancies. So, for example, there's a particular criterion that company A has. The full marks is, let's say, 10. Company B does the same thing, and instead of getting the full mark, they get, let's say, 7. So we wanted understanding. Now, that was when the chairperson of the panel more or less refused to come and help us understand the work they did. And so, the chairperson was not ready. That's the chairperson of the panel. That is the first report. Was not ready to explain to the entity tender committee how come they had those scoring discrepancies. So the Electoral Commission received advice from both the Public Procurement Authority and the Central Tender Review Committee that if you have a chairperson of a panel whose work is not that straight and is refusing to be accountable, what you do is to set aside that report and start all over again. So that's what happened. That's why they had a second report. Now, when they finished, the report came to us. It was a restrictive process but competitive. One company, I don't want to be pitching company A against company B, but if there are specific issues you want to understand your questions to answers to, I'm ready to assist you to understand. Yeah.
Well, but let's just fast forward. I want to find out, the reasons why Smartmatics bid was cancelled or rejected. It also happens to be the same for Thales. Did that issue come up and how was it resolved?
All right. So, the companies were, let me see, I have the document. I think I have. So you had Thales, you had Smartmatics, you had Backpress, and you had Miro. 4 companies. And please, for the records, it's not that Smartmatics report was rejected or something. The first report covered all of them. By the time we met the members of the panel, by the time we did the editing or review together with the panel members, the scoring of all the 4 companies changed. So it's not only one company. We should not mention one as if the first report was only about, let's say, Smartmatic, and we said we don't like it. It was about 4 different companies. And we had to look at all of them. The second report, the first report, yes, when it came out, there were some companies that were at the very top in terms of scores. In the second report, did not remain at the top. So I don't want to make it company A versus company B. But this issue about due diligence and their background, what happened was that there was one particular company, and for your information, it's not Thales that had been blacklisted by the World Bank. There was a particular company out of the 4 that had been blacklisted by the World Bank. And a member of the committee wanted to know why they had gone through the restricted process despite their history of having been blacklisted.
Okay.
So when it came to the second report, we suggested to the committee that it would be good to do due diligence. When they did due diligence, there were issues with almost every company, but nothing was written about about Thales.
Well, we'll have to leave it here. We're grateful for your time. That's Dr. Bernard Okoboy. He's a member of the Entity Tender Committee, largely corroborating some of the issues that we also raised and the information that we got.
Well, Government Poverty Alleviation Program Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty currently offers cash handouts to some 330,000 households in the country, which represents an estimated 5 million people, right? There are, however, estimated some 750,000 more poor Ghanaians who are not beneficiaries. One of them is Yaya Kwanjed, a resident of Sambona in the Upper East region, who is yearning to be included in the program before she dies. Jojo Kabana has more.
In the heart of Sambona, a community in the Northeast region, is Yaya Kwanjed, an old lady who does not know her age, but she firmly maintains that she's way younger than she looks currently. She blames poverty for draining all youthful juices in her, leaving her blind and old. She lost her sight after giving birth to her second child. Yaya lost her husband and recounts everything took a downward turn. She tries to define what poverty means to her.
Poverty is when you depend on people for everything. Poverty is when you want to eat banku and fish, pussy, drink malt, and any other drink, but you don't have the means.
She gropes for her stick, getting ready to prepare breakfast. But there are days that Yaya Kwanjed goes without any food.
There are days I have nothing. Sometimes the people of this community assume I'm okay. Those are the days I have nothing but depend on water.
She has been sleeping on the bare floor all her life and rarely sleeps on a mat. But Yaya has one last wish before she dies.
Before I die, I want to also sleep on a mattress. Now, I don't even have a mat. And the only thing I want is a mattress.
Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
Well, Jojo Kobna joins us in studio. Jojo, what's been the response so far after the hearing of the story?
In fact, I have been overwhelmed this morning. Since 6 a.m., many Ghanaians have called wanting to help. Many have donated. We have over 7,000 Ghana cedis so far, and many more people are donating as I speak. We also have latest foam coming to donate mattresses. We have ash foam coming to do. So it looks like Yaya may have to be sleeping on about 4 mattresses.
That's a good one, Jojo. As you say, good journalism there. That's what you always do, Jojo. Thank you very much for doing that.
We must say thank you also to those who've been donating so far.
Thank you, Jojo. And tomorrow, very quickly, before we go, the Information Minister will be at the launch of our election headquarters tomorrow, and the NDC will also be represented there. But I need to quickly say about Kojo Nkrumah. The World Economic Forum has selected him, the Information Minister, as a young global leader for 2020. He has been selected as one of 115 leaders who the forum describes as the world's most promising leaders under the age of 40. Guess the group he's going to be rubbing shoulders with. Selected Prime Minister of Finland, Sanna Marin, Vice President of Ecuador, chief economist, Allianz Germany, and Megan Rapinoe. Remember him? You know her? That's the U.S. women football captain. And so, yeah, of course, I mean, congratulations to him. We'll see him tomorrow at the place. Make sure you come, Fifi, Jojo, I'll be there. I'll be there. To the place. Grateful. Thank you for joining us on Newsnight tonight. My name is Mensah.
I am Emefa Apawu, and we have live commentary. Gary Al Smith is in the studio.
Yes, thank you. On the election headquarters, no such elections in the football world. But